Hello everybody. If you want to read all this story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 670, The Great Kettle Disaster, Upper Beginner. Arthur was a single man. He lived in a small, quiet flat in London. Arthur loved one thing most, a good cup of tea. Every morning he made tea with his old electric kettle. But the kettle was very, very loud. When it boiled, it sounded like a small plane was landing in his kitchen. I must fix this, Arthur thought one Saturday. He found his toolbox. The box was full of tools he never used. He put the kettle on the table. First, Arthur looked at the kettle. Then he used a small screwdriver. He wanted to see inside. Soon the kettle was in 10 little pieces on the table. Arthur looked at the pieces. "Oh dear," he said. He did not know how to put it back together. He put the pieces in a bag. Now he needed a coffee instead of tea. He turned on his old toaster to make toast. The toaster smelled strange. A lot of grey smoke came out of the top. The smoke alarm started to make a terrible noise. Beep! Beep! Arthur panicked. He grabbed a box of biscuits from the shelf and threw one at the ceiling. The biscuit hit the smoke alarm. The smoke alarm stopped. Just then, his neighbour, Betty, knocked on the door. She looked at the smoky kitchen, the open toolbox, and the biscuits stuck to the ceiling. Betty started to laugh. "What happened, Arthur? Did the washing machine explode?" Arthur sighed. "No, Betty, I just wanted a quiet cup of tea." Betty smiled. "It's a very British problem. I'll call a handyman, mate. You put the kettle down, literally." Arthur sat down. He ate a biscuit from the floor. He still needed a cup of tea, but at least the kitchen was quiet again. Vocabulary notes. Kettle. Noun. Definition. An electrical container used only for boiling water. In the UK, almost every kitchen has one, especially for making tea. Example. Every morning he made tea with his old electric kettle. Similar words. Boiler. Tea maker. The action is to boil. Screwdriver. Noun. Definition. A specific type of tool with a handle and a thin end used for turning screws, like small metal pins, to put things together or take them apart. Example. Then he used a small screwdriver. He wanted to see inside. Similar words. Drill. A power tool for similar work. Wrench. A tool for turning nuts and bolts. Implement. Smoke. Noun. Definition. The cloud of gas and small black or grey particles that you see when something is burning. In the story, the toaster burned the food, creating smoke. Example. A lot of grey smoke came out of the top. Similar words. Fumes. Often used for unpleasant smelling gas. Steam. The white gas from boiling water. Haze. Biscuits. Noun plural. Definition. British English. A small, often sweet baked food, typically eaten with tea or coffee. In American English, this word often means a soft, savoury bread roll. Example. He grabbed a box of biscuits from the shelf and threw one at the ceiling. Similar words. Cookies. Often larger and softer than biscuits. Crackers. Unsweetened, eaten with cheese. Treats. Quiet. Adjective. Definition. Making very little or no sound. The opposite of loud or noisy. Arthur wanted a peaceful moment. Example. I just wanted a quiet cup of tea. Similar words. Silent. Calm. Peaceful. Still, the noun form is quietness or silence. Story written by Gemini AI. Image created by Gemini AI. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into a really interesting, kind of unusual source today. It's a short narrative. It's called The Great Kettle Disaster.
Right.
And our mission, basically, is to take this story of, well, domestic chaos and see what cultural context, maybe some linguistic insights we can pull from it.
Yeah, it's a great little piece. It really zooms in on Arthur. He's this single guy, small London flat, and the whole thing kicks off because he just wants a peaceful cup of tea. Simple enough, you'd think.
Deceptively simple, it sounds like, because the source, it really paints a picture of his old kettle. Says it was so loud it sounded like, and this is a quote, a small plane was landing in his kitchen.
Which is quite the noise level for making tea.
Definitely. And that's his motivation, right? He just wants it quiet.
Exactly. But instead of maybe just buying a new one, he goes the DIY route.
The toolbox comes out.
It does. He gets a small screwdriver, starts taking the kettle apart, and pretty soon he's got like 10 little pieces laid out.
And no idea how they go back together, I'm guessing.
Zero idea. The source just notes he sighs and says, "Oh dear," which feels understated.
Very. So, okay, kettle's out of action, no tea. What next?
Well, plan B is toast. He tries to make some toast,
Okay.
but that doesn't go well either. Creates this sort of strange smell, lots of gray smoke,
Oh, no.
which immediately sets off the smoke alarm. You know, beep, 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 panic stations.
Right. Okay, so now it's not just no tea, it's noise and smoke. How does he handle that?
This is where it gets inventive.
Yep.
Panics, looks around, grabs a box of biscuits.
Biscuits.
Yep, biscuits, and he throws one at the ceiling
Yeah.
to hit the smoke alarm.
He throws a biscuit. Does it work?
Apparently, yes. Hits the alarm, noise stops, silence.
Wow. Okay, we need to talk about the biscuit itself, though. The source makes a point about this, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It clarifies that this is a biscuit in the British English sense, so not like an American soft, savory roll thing.
All right, it's the small, sweet, baked thing, the kind you actually have with tea.
Exactly. Which adds this layer of, well, irony, doesn't it? Using this little sweet treat as a sort of emergency projectile. It's chaos, but very specific cultural chaos.
That's brilliant. A sweet treat weapon. So the alarm's off, there's smoke. Well, what happens then?
Just then, his neighbor, Betty, walks in, sees the whole scene.
Oh, perfect timing. What does she make of it? The smoke, the toolbox, is the biscuit still there?
The source says it's stuck to the ceiling, yeah. And Betty apparently just laughs and asks, "What happened, Arthur? Did the washing machine explode?"
That's quite the reaction.
And her follow-up is interesting, too. She apparently calls the whole situation a very British problem.
A very British problem. What do you think the source means by highlighting that?
Well, maybe it's that reaction, seeing total domestic failure caused by trying to fix something essential for tea and finding it funny. Or maybe just sort of par for the course, that stiff upper lip finding humor in the absurd.
And she tells him to put the kettle down, literally. Good advice, probably.
Probably wise, yeah,
Yeah.
given the evidence.
So Arthur started out just wanting a quiet cup of tea.
And in the end, he got quiet all right. But no kettle, ruined toast, and the source adds this final detail: he had to eat the rest of the biscuits off the floor.
Oh, Arthur. So he achieved quiet, but lost the tea and maybe a bit of dignity.
Quite.
So here's something to think about, maybe. He started this whole thing wanting a quiet cup of tea. The adjective, right? Suggesting peace, calm.
Mm-hmm.
But what he ended up with, after all the chaos, the smoke, the biscuit throwing, was silence. The noun. total absence of sound.
Ah, that's a neat distinction. Quiet versus silence.
Yeah. So what does that difference maybe tell us about the kind of peacefulness Arthur was actually looking for before he decided to dismantle his kitchen appliances? Something for you to ponder.